welcome back to my channel. It's Jodie Hill here, and I'm making commitment to you guys that every single Monday I'm going to record a video and post. So there's going to be content around CEO life, life hacks, mental health, neurodiversity, and updates, things like employment law, things that are going on with COVID, and employment issues that we might want to talk about from like a diversity and inclusion perspective, or wellbeing and mental health. So there's loads of stuff that I've got that's going to be coming out over the next few weeks, which I'm really, really excited about. So please, if you haven't already, subscribe and drop a like and some comments onto these videos so that more and more people can see them. So today, well, I'm not at home. This is not my home. I'm actually in Thailand at the moment, and having a really very much needed break, actually. So what I wanted to talk about today was really thinking about how can we switch off properly when we're on holiday. It's something that I'm really, really bad at, and I've been getting better at. And the reason I'm bad at it is a couple of things. One, I run my own business, Thrive Law. I have ADHD and anxiety, so I get super distracted. I'm super always on. So I find that it really does take me a couple of weeks to properly chill out. So a weekend isn't enough, which means, you know, having not had the holiday from last Christmas because of the lockdowns and everything, meant that I haven't had a proper break for 2 years, which is really difficult actually. And at the end of this holiday, what I've realised is how much I needed this break, how important it was. And I was thinking, no, I'm fine. And actually the reality is none of us are fine when we just power through. So yeah, I think it's been really, really helpful for me to do this. But what I've learned along the way, some of the things that helped me to be able to switch off. So let's get started. Number one, plan ahead as much as possible. Now, I get that it's really difficult to do that when we don't know what the restrictions are going to be. We don't know whether or not you need PCRs and all that stuff because of COVID. However, if you do as much forward planning, you're going to reduce the level of anxiety before you travel. And also, it means that you can manage expectations of others, which I'll come on to shortly. But planning ahead is super important. And as you get closer to the holiday, what you need to think about is re-looking at that plan. Do you have everything that you need? I always make sure I write a list of everything that I need, and then I'm constantly checking on the government website. You can actually put a reminder on the government website as well that any changes in the travel restrictions to that particular country, they will notify you, so you'll know about it. So just make sure you've got that, because some countries require you, like Thailand required a Thai pass. I had to upload documents. It took 7 days to get that. It meant that my lesson was I didn't do it early enough, so I had to go to Abu Dhabi first. And so please learn from my lesson and don't have to change your entire holiday because you didn't do something properly. But actually, you know, it's a really good example of the fact that that wasn't very clear on the way that I booked it. But actually, had I planned it better, I probably would have come to Thailand earlier. So learn from that mistake, and you know, get as organised as you can as possible. And especially so if you're ADHD and anxiety and have anxiety, because what happens is you become more anxious if you don't know what's happening. It's a you know, the lack of certainty that's really difficult. But with ADHD, you get distracted and you might start doing something and then you go off and do something else. So really make sure that regardless of your how your brain works, make sure you're really organised, because you'll make the most of that holiday then. Number two. So for me, I think, you know, like I said before, having a long weekend is great, especially at the beginning of the year and stuff. But I think you need to factor in a longer break, and I'd say at least a week, twice a year. Now, I go away at Christmas because the Christmas break for us is very quiet time. So it's better for me to do that because I feel less like I need to work while I'm away. Big issue of mine, trying to not work whilst I'm away. So picking the time when you're going to go is really helpful, but also the length of time. So, you know, if you're thinking to go away for 2 days, but it takes you a day to drive, then a day to drive back, so you've actually hardly got any time there, you're not really going to recharge very much. So have some time where, you know, every single year you have a longer holiday and you use that time to do whatever you do to relax and work out what that might look like. But make sure you go at least a week, at least once a year. Like, I tried to come for nearly 3 weeks here, and I'm going to do another video on the fact that I've done part of this as a holiday and part remote working. So this is 2 parts of a video, but the reality was it took me over a week to even relax. You know, I was very, very tense. I couldn't barely sleep. Luckily here, the massages are great. So I was able to get, you know, some Thai massages and just start to relax. And actually, once I started to relax, I then felt like I was on holiday, but I was still so uptight. So yeah, at least a week, I would say. Numero 1, 2, 3. Tip number 3 is to go somewhere, anywhere. It doesn't have to be abroad. Yeah, I've obviously given an example abroad. Now that's because I like to be in the sun and I have the ability to work from anywhere, so I was able to do that. However, not everybody can. Not everybody can travel. Not everybody can afford to travel, and I completely get that, but it doesn't mean that you don't take a break. You still take a break, but you remove yourself from the physical environment that you're in with your particular either workplace or home life or whatever it might be. They might be the same place. Like with me, I've been working from home and living from home and doing everything from home. So actually, if I took a week off at home, I'd end up cleaning or sorting a drawer, which in itself can be helpful. However, what it means is I'm never actually resting. So it's really important that you find somewhere that is separate to your normal life that you can really recharge your batteries, because otherwise what ends up happening is, with the best will in the world, that wall needs painting, all that washing we could do, and all we end up doing is wasting a week. We might be a bit more relaxed, we might do a bit of exercise or whatever, but if we remove ourselves from the situation and the environment that we're in, the physical environment, it actually helps our mind to switch off better. So I highly recommend getting away. And even if it's just like I went to Newquay in the summer, and I've never been there before, and I went for like 4 or 5 days, not quite a week, but it was brilliant because I would never have gone there if we hadn't had all the lockdowns, and I just needed to get out of the space that I was in and recharge, and that was just enough for me. It was brilliant because I was able to be in the sea, surf, take my mind off everything, and not be in that monotonous kind of mundane journey that we're constantly, like almost like a rabbit wheel that we're always on. Tip number 4 is really for those people who are thinking, I'd love to take a week off, you're so lucky, blah, blah, blah. You create your own look, you create your own environment, and you need to prepare your clients and your staff early if you're an entrepreneur or a CEO or a manager. And if you're not, still prepare your colleagues and your clients, because if people know you're going to be away, they won't send you stuff unless they're not very nice. They won't send you stuff to do the day before your holiday or whatever. They'll help you to manage that. So there's a bit of an onus on us to go, do you know what, guys, I'm having a break, I won't be contactable, manage those expectations and say, look, this is when I leave, this is what, if you want me to do X, Y, and Z before, happy to do that. I'm going to teach so-and-so how to do this if I'm off, and really start to delegate and teach individuals, because I think it's really important that you're not then contacted by work. You know, if you set those boundaries, you're saying, no, I'm not going to be available and I need to recharge. So we Thrive, what we've done is we've got what we call a process manual. So the first year I went away, when the firm was a bit small, I was thinking, everything's in my head. How does everyone know what to do? And so the idea behind the process manual is that I've set out all the stuff that basically people would come to me about. The answers are all in a process document. So it could be anything from, if a check lands, what do we do with it? Or if this client does this, how do we deal with it? Who's the compliance of who? All the who's and what's are answered in that document. So really have a think about that for your role or for your organisation. Is there something you can do to make sure that you're less likely to be contacted whilst you're away? Numero 5. So I would say delegation is a huge issue for so many people. Used to be something that I really struggled with when I was really, really junior. But I really like it now. I really enjoy delegating. And the reason why is because, one, I'm teaching people how to do the job that they want to do and learn extra skills and develop them as individuals. But also it means that I can rest, and it means that I don't have to do everything. For any of those people watching who are entrepreneurs will know that when you set up, you are everything. You have a million hats on, and you have to start to take some of those hats off. And some people are better than that than others. And what we need to do is understand that we can delegate. The world will not end if we delegate. Some people might not get it right, but that's okay, as long as they learn from it. So you need to invest some time in training those people, teach them how to do that, have a protocol for who might review that if you've trained them, and for them to really understand exactly what is expected of them and have the skill set and the toolkit to do that. And if you do that, when you come back, you're less likely to have 2,565 million emails to read, because you're managing expectations from people in advance and you're delegating some of the tasks that you would ordinarily have to do upon your return. Oh, and I would say as well, don't feel bad about delegating stuff. Everybody feels bad, and don't justify it. You're allowed to delegate regardless of what role you're in, especially if it means that you're more likely to recharge and switch off on your holiday. Final tip from me, put your bloody phone down. Turn your apps off, chill out, disconnect from the world. Oh, it's just the perfect time to do it. So obviously you might want to keep your phone on for family or friends or whatever, but what you can do is switch off Asana, Slack, emails, everything else that could distract you and lure you into checking your work or lure you into a bit more of a stressed state because you're thinking about what you're having to go back to rather than switching off. So really do think about that. And I think personally for me, I have my phone on because I've travelled alone, so I keep my phone on. I got a Thai SIM card so that nobody could call me, and I put my WhatsApp on there and a couple of apps, but the rest of the apps I turned the data off, so I just had WhatsApp on there just so I could contact friends. And then all the data thing, if you look on your settings, there's a bit where you can flick the data off for several apps. So I just flick the data off for all the apps, and then only when I connected to Wi-Fi would they connect, or the alternative is just delete them and re-download them when you get back to the UK. But that's really helped me to switch off, and you know, it's easy when you see lots of notifications, you want to reply to people and you know, you want to be involved in that, but actually the reality is you're not going to switch off unless you start to disconnect fully from work, and that includes social media. One of the things that I found really helpful was so I have like a notebook that I have it in my bag and I put by my book. When I'm reading, I find that I then pick my phone up because I have an idea and I write it in my notes. When I'm reading, my brain opens up and lots of good content comes out, which is great. However, it then means I pick my device up and then I get distracted by notifications. So turn all the notifications off, put the phone in the bedroom, go outside and sunbathe and do your thing over there, and then read your book, and then take a notebook. And my notebook is about half full of ideas and tasks and things, because as you start to relax, stuff will come out that you're like, oh, I forgot about that, or you might become more creative. So it's really important to have like a little book next to you where you can just jot anything down, so you're not then tempted to go, oh, do you know what, I'm just going to go grab my phone and just do this one thing. Write it on a piece of paper, it won't go anywhere, and then pick it up when you're back. So guys, that's the end of this video. Please share, like, subscribe. Next week's video will be focused on working remotely, how we do that effectively, especially where we're in a foreign country. If you've got any hints and tips or apps or anything that you want to share on the video that I've just recorded, or for the one for next week, please just get in touch, drop me a comment below, and follow us on our other socials as well. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.